Welcome to Real Vermont News. Today, we're looking into the radical left's latest assault on your constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms. There are a number of anti-gun proposals floating around the State House, but the gun grabber's hot project right now is to make sure everyone has to wait some arbitrary amount of time to buy a gun, even if you're a woman who knows your angry former lover is coming after you. And then, after you finally get a weapon to protect yourself, the gun grabbers want you to keep the thing locked up so tight in your own home you can't put your shaking hands on it easily when that former lover or some other dangerous nut comes crashing through your front door. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Here's correspondent Chris Bradley with the disturbing details.
Bob, just like last year's useless gun control laws flew through the legislative process because of a lot of media stories about a single, disturbed young man with a gun, this year's gun control laws are moving forward on a narrative about one 23-year-old Essex man who went to a gun store, bought a pistol, and then used that pistol to end his life. Only 4 similar incidents have occurred in Vermont in the past 20 years, but that was enough to stir the passions of the legislators who don't like guns.
I think it's fair to say those legislators don't like people who like guns either, which in Vermont is mostly us rural white guys. Why else would these Democrats and progressives, who are so quick to claim bigotry in others, fail to realize how bigoted it is for them to shower their contempt, and it is contempt, on the gun-friendly part of Vermont's traditional way of life? Remember, it was this flag that House Judiciary Chair Maxine Grad, Democrat from Moortown, told people they couldn't wave at the State House hearing on this bill. Besides, any kind of waiting puts some people at risk, in the city or in the country.
It certainly does. There were 3,380 relief from abuse filings in 2018, which was up 8% from 2017. Many of these filings became relief from abuse orders when the victim was able to convince a court that they were under a real threat of bodily injury or even death. And since Article 16 of Vermont's Constitution is so very specific about our right to have weapons for self-defense, it can't possibly be constitutional to make someone in danger, wait to buy a gun, even for a minute, and then interfere with that person's ability to use it in self-defense inside their own home. It's outrageous.
It's also pretty hypocritical for far-left politicians to use suicide prevention as their excuse for more gun control. They were the ones who were so hot 5 years ago to make suicide legal, as long as the government held your hand while you were doing it.
Bob, that death with bureaucracy law made it so complicated to get a suicide med from a doctor that it's obvious many people who kill themselves with a gun just figure it's either nobody's business what they do, or they haven't got the ability in their last days to round up all the people and do all the paperwork to do such a terrible thing legally. Besides, how will this law stop anyone from suicide when they already own a gun?
Thank you, Chris. Never let a good gun tragedy go to waste when you're trying to grab some guns, right? Now, if you see this waiting period to buy a gun and the requirement that you keep it locked up, it's just the latest excuse to chip away at your constitutional rights by people who aren't willing to show any respect for traditional Vermont culture, then like this video, click your Facebook share icon to let your friends know that these radical progressives in Montpelier are up to something bad now. Then, take a look at how your legislators are voting on this issue, and if you can't convince them to vote your way, think about running for office yourself. And that's all the Real Vermont News we have time for. A lot more happened, and we'll be looking into all of it.